Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You've sent us a stack of sources, articles, industry reports, legal analyses, all focused on one of the most commercially successful artists of the modern era.
And our mission today really is to rapidly gain a thorough, actionable understanding of how this individual achieved, and I think this is the key part, maintained total global dominance.
Exactly. We are diving deep into the career of Edward Christopher Sheeran.
On the surface, you see the image of the unassuming, guitar-wielding, everyman troubadour.
Right.
But when you actually dig into the financials, the systematic album structures, and legal battles he has fought and won, what you see is a finely tuned, meticulously planned music machine.
That's the perfect way to put it. The singer-songwriter, the musician, the producer, and the strategic entrepreneur born in Halifax, West Yorkshire in 1991. We are going so far beyond the catchy tunes here. This deep dive is about decoding the mechanics, the creative strategies, and the business decisions that allowed him to become an icon who, frankly, consistently transcends genre boundaries.
To really frame this, we have to establish the sheer, almost unimaginable scale of the operation right from the start.
Yeah, let's set the stage.
We aren't talking about a flash in the pan. We are discussing one of the best-selling music artists globally.
Give us the numbers. Give us the perspective we need.
Okay, so he has sold over 200 million records worldwide.
200 million.
That number alone places him in this, rarefied era of musical history. But it's the longevity and the sheer concentration of that success in his home market that really sets him apart.
And what does that look like in terms of cultural saturation? I mean, what's the metric for that?
Well, the official charts company, which is the definitive authority in the UK, they didn't just give him a single award. They named him the Artist of the Decade for the entire 2010s.
A whole decade.
The whole decade. And this designation, it wasn't based on one hit album. It was based on the combined success consistently across both the UK album and singles charts over 10 straight years. That is textbook market saturation.
And if selling 200 million records worldwide isn't enough to define an economic phenomenon, his live presence absolutely is. We often discuss how touring is the essential financial backbone for modern artists. Ed Sheeran didn't just find a successful touring model, he completely redefined the benchmark for global concert profitability.
That's right. His E-Tour, the Divide Tour, which ran from 2017 to 2019, it became the highest-grossing concert tour of all time by August 2019.
All time.
It eclipsed records previously held by these massive acts like U2. And this speaks not only to the breadth of his global appeal, but also to the very specific strategy they employed in selling tickets and designing that massive 360-degree stadium show.
It proved he could translate that intimate acoustic identity onto the world's biggest stages without losing connection.
Exactly. He made a stadium feel like a pub.
So if you, the listener, came here to understand the blueprint for modern global music success, your mission is fulfilled by understanding the mechanics we're about to lay out. We're exploring the chronological structure of his career, how his initial connections in the grime and hip-hop world proved to be his most valuable assets, the mathematical precision of his album cycles, and critically, how his recent high-stakes legal battles have established vital precedents for all songwriters going forward.
We need to see the calculated nature of the empire, but we start with the genuine, organic roots.
Okay, let's unpack this. We begin with the origin story, the early life, the artistic family background, and the pivotal move that set him on this path.
He was born in Halifax, West Yorkshire, but the setting for his formative years was Framlingham in Suffolk.
Right, Castle on the Hill.
Exactly. That town became iconic, featured vividly in that track, referring, of course, to the historic Framlingham Castle where he spent a lot of his childhood.
And the creative environment at home was, well, it was crucial, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This wasn't a family pushing him toward, accounting.
Not at all. His father, John, was an art curator and a lecturer, and his mother, Imogen, started as a culture publicist before becoming a jewelry designer. So he was just steeped in art and creative appreciation from birth.
That environment definitely nurtured his musical inclination.
Absolutely. He started singing in a church choir at the tender age of 4. 4 years old, which just speaks to that early organic exposure to rhythm and melody. He then picked up the guitar at 11, largely influenced by one particular legendary musician we'll touch on later. And interestingly, he also played the cello when he was younger, showing an early appreciation for string instruments and orchestration.
And sometimes the signs are just obvious. There's a brilliant anecdote from his 2004 school report that captured his potential perfectly, describing him as a natural performer.
Right.
The ultimate validation, though, came from his peers. His classmates voted him most likely to be famous.
Which is just an incredible piece of foreshadowing, especially when you consider the level of independence he showed right away.
How so?
Well, at just 13 in 2004, he independently released his first collection, Spinning Man.
And this wasn't some sleek, label-backed debut.
Oh, not even close. He famously made the covers, burnt the CDs himself, and distributed them informally. It was pure hustle.
And that collection contained the line that would sort of define his brand ethos for years. I'm a typical average teen, if you know what I mean.
Yes, that lyric captured the everyman feeling, the authenticity that allowed him to connect with an audience that was just tired of manufactured pop.
And this is where the management of his personal history starts really early. He recognizes the rawness of that material.
He does. He famously owns 19 of the 20 existing copies of Spinning Man.
So he's controlling the narrative.
He's controlling the narrative, ensuring that early rough material doesn't overshadow the polished product, but keeping it as part of his personal history.
But the real education wasn't that album. It was the training ground between 2004 and 2010. He moved to London in 2008 and began the grind.
The real grind. Playing tiny, often unpaid, small venues, sometimes sleeping on sofas. The classic struggling artist scenario.
He initially enrolled in artist development at Access to Music, trying the conventional route.
But he quickly realized the true development wasn't in a classroom. He left without permission to take a crucial, non-traditional step, supporting the hip-hop artist Just Jack on tour.
And that detour into the hip-hop world was foundational, wasn't it? Because his major early breakthrough didn't come through the radio or a major label scout in a pub.
No, not at all. It came digitally. It came through an authentic connection to the UK urban scene.
Which platform?
YouTube, and specifically the Grime and Urban Music channel, SBTV, which was launched by the late, great Jamal Edwards.
A pivotal figure.
A huge figure. This is a critical moment for UK music. SBTV acted as an authentic cultural gate pass, bypassing the traditional pop industry gatekeepers. And Sheeran, with his acoustic guitar, collaborated with them, showing he respected and understood the urban scene.
That willingness to cross over, this acoustic folk talent meeting the raw energy of UK grime, it provided him immediate, credible traction.
And that digital exposure, facilitated by Edwards, led directly to an invitation to tour with the rapper Example.
So this is the genius of the early strategy. He was accruing influence and credibility across multiple demographics at the same time.
Exactly. He wasn't just a folk singer. He was part of the scene that mattered in urban Britain.
And then that credibility paid dividends across the Atlantic. We have to mention the major early endorsement that set him on the path to American attention, the Jamie Foxx connection in 2010.
What a story. Sheeran flew to Los Angeles with very little plan, very little money.
Just a guitar and a dream.
Pretty much. And he was invited to perform at Jamie Foxx's club, the Foxhole. Fox, who has an incredible eye for talent, was so thoroughly impressed that he invited Sheeran to stay at his home for 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
6 weeks, giving him free access to his recording studio and providing this invaluable mentorship opportunity.
An endorsement like that is not just priceless in terms of publicity. It's a direct, immediate bridge into the highest echelons of the American entertainment industry without needing an expensive marketing campaign.
And yet, the true pivot point, the thing that secured his leverage before signing a major deal, was a very independent project, the No. 5 Collaborations Project, released in January 2011.
Okay, so why was this specific EP so powerful strategically?
Because it demonstrated organic, non-traditional market proof, was fully independent, and he used all those connections he'd built to feature high-profile grime artists like Wiley, Jim Egg, Devlin, and others. These weren't favors. They were genuine collaborations.
And the commercial results just spoke volumes.
It was stunning. The EP reached number 2 on the iTunes chart with zero major label promotion or backing.
Zero.
None. It sold over 7,000 copies in the first week. That commercial success, entirely powered by the cultural weight of the UK grime scene, gave him massive negotiating power.
So he could walk into a label not as a hopeful talent,
but as a proven commercial force with a pre-existing non-traditional fan base. He signed with Asylum Records shortly after. This was the moment the music industry realized he had cracked the code for combining authentic street credibility with chart success.
That trajectory from sofa surfing to being a proven commercial commodity brings us directly into the era that cemented his global profile, the mathematics of megastardom.
And this is where we see the transition from talented busker to meticulous brand manager. The most immediate, striking, and systematic element of his career management is the album titling.
The mathematical symbols, it's such a deliberate, almost cold choice.
It is. It's completely deliberate. Every major studio album is a single, clear mathematical symbol. Plus, X, multiply, A, divide, equals, and subtract. His upcoming 2025 album is called Play.
So what's the strategic implication of using these symbols? What's he signaling?
It signifies a highly planned, cyclical career structure. It treats his discography like a formal series, immediately communicating predictability, structure, and a defined life cycle. It suggests a systematic, almost mathematical approach to pop music production, which is exactly what he achieved.
So let's start with the first one, The Foundation, plus what? Or Plus, released in 2011.
Plus immediately topped the UK albums chart. The launch single, The A-Team, was critical in establishing his folk pop credentials, while still retaining that grit from his urban scene history. It was the best-selling debut single and the overall 8th best-selling single in the UK that year, selling 801,000 copies.
And it wasn't just a commercial hit. It was recognized for its lyrical depth, which reinforced that craftsman image.
It won Best Song Musically and Lyrically at the 2012 Ivor Novello Awards, which, for those unfamiliar, is a major UK award focused specifically on songwriting and composition quality.
So it's about the craft.
It is all about the craft. And he beat out songs by industry giants like Adele and Florence and the Machine. That early validation of his writing was absolutely crucial for building his legacy.
And even at this early stage, he was strategically building influence behind the scenes as a writer for other massive acts.
Yes, his collaborative footprint expanded rapidly. He co-wrote Moments and the UK #1 single Little Things for One Direction.
Huge.
This demonstrated his ability to write commercially viable, chart-topping pop for other artists, further solidifying his reputation within the industry elite.
But the single most important accelerator for the next stage of global dominance came from a very unexpected source. The Taylor Swift launchpad.
This is a classic example of an organic connection leading to a career explosion. In March 2012, Taylor Swift heard his music while she was touring Australia. She immediately saw the crossover potential.
So what happened next?
This led to a co-written track on her album, Everything Has Changed, and the hugely significant opportunity to open for her massive The Red Tour across North America in 2013.
That is immense exposure. He went from playing small London clubs to opening for a global stadium superstar in front of colossal mainstream American audiences night after night.
It was a crash course in arena-level performance and branding. He spent months soaking up that stadium atmosphere, and the exposure to Swift's immense, dedicated fan base was the non-traditional marketing push he needed to cement his U.S. presence.
And he commemorated it, right?
He did. He even got a scarlet RAD tattoo to commemorate what he called the defining tour of that time in his career.
Which sets the stage perfectly for his second album, 2014's X, or Multiply. This is where the scale goes truly astronomical.
It really does. And we have to start with the sheer work ethic involved. He wrote over 120 songs for X.
120.
That speaks to an obsessive commitment to finding the absolute best commercial material, leaving no stone unturned.
And this album is the perfect illustration of that strategic genre bending we talked about. He understood he had two distinct audiences now, the core folk purists and the new, massive mainstream pop audience he'd gained.
The release strategy was masterful. The lead single, Sing, was produced by Pharrell Williams. It was intentionally sonically diverse, featuring an R&B and pop edge, designed explicitly to generate mainstream hype, show his versatility, and push his sound into new markets.
But he immediately followed that with the acoustic ballad, One.
Precisely. One was the olive branch to that core, purist fan base who valued his troubadour roots. It proved he hadn't abandoned the fundamentals. This strategic push and pull, satisfying both the dance floor and the coffee shop, ensured nobody felt alienated by his evolution.
And the dominance that followed was historic. X peaked at #1 in both the UK and the US, and its financial success was, well, undeniable.
It was named the second best-selling album worldwide of 2015, second only to the behemoth that was Adele's 25. But the digital scale was equally telling. In 2014, before streaming was fully ubiquitous, Spotify named him the most streamed artist globally, and X was the most streamed album. He was dominating both physical sales and the rapidly emerging digital landscape.
And, of course, the iconic ballad from this era, Thinking Out Loud, became a cultural milestone.
A huge one. It earned him high honors at the 2016 Grammy Awards, winning both Song of the Year, which he co-wrote with Amy Wadge, and Best Pop Solo Performance.
And the video was a big part of that.
Oh, a huge part. Crucially, the song's music video, featuring him performing this complex ballroom dance routine, completely shifted the public perception of the everyman singer. It was another calculated move to demonstrate charisma and dedication beyond just holding a guitar.
But I have to ask, when we look at this scale, the 120 songs written, the strategic single releases, the meticulous Taylor Swift cosigns, does the concept of the everyman start to crumble a bit? This sounds less like a bloke with a guitar and more like a CEO of a very successful planned corporation.
That is the core paradox of the Ed Sheeran brand, and arguably his greatest piece of intellectual property. The everyman is the marketing. The mathematical cycle is the business structure.
So he sells authenticity, but his operations are monolithic.
Exactly. The success of the everyman image is sustained because he manages to keep the focus on his personal life and genuine connections, despite the massive resources spent on his global touring and meticulous long-term planning. It's a very fine tightrope walk.
That tightrope walk led to the peak of commercial success with his third album, A, or Divide, released in 2017.
This era followed a dramatic year-long hiatus and social media break, which was in itself a masterful piece of marketing. In an age of constant connectivity, pulling back entirely creates massive anticipation. He teased the return with a simple, light blue social media theme, generating huge buzz.
And the comeback was not just successful, it was historically disruptive.
Unprecedented disruption. He released 2 songs simultaneously, Shape of You and Castle on the Hill. They became the first songs in history to debut in the top 2 positions on the UK singles chart.
Think about that. You are competing with and defeating yourself for the top spot.
And he replicated that feat immediately in the US. He became the first artist ever to have 2 songs simultaneously debut in the US top 10. The simultaneous release strategy, one dance pop track, one nostalgic ballad, was proven to be pure commercial gold.
And the sales reflected this tsunami of popularity.
The album itself was the fastest-selling album by a male solo artist in UK history and became the best-selling album worldwide of 2017.
And of course, the touring machine was built around this era. The Divide Tour, as we mentioned, became the highest-grossing concert tour of all time. Let's dive into that a bit. How did they achieve that?
Well, the key was the sheer volume of dates. It spanned over 2 years, and the utilization of the 360-degree stage format in stadiums.
Which maximizes capacity.
Right. It maximizes capacity and therefore gross revenue per show, all while keeping ticket prices accessible enough to maintain that everyman image. It was high capacity, consistently sold out globally.
He also used the Divide era to cement high-profile, influential collaborations that demonstrated his cross-genre and cross-cultural power.
Definitely. He released the perfect duet with Beyoncé, which secured the coveted UK Christmas #1 in 2017. And the collaboration with Eminem on the track River was a personal and professional too. Sheeran has repeatedly stated that Eminem was one of the key reasons he began writing, and securing that feature validated his roots in the urban scene.
Moving on, we jump to his more recent projects. The Num.6 Collaborations Project in 2019 and Equals in 2021.
No.6 Collaborations Project was a highly calculated strategic detour. Instead of the standard symbol album, he leaned entirely into his collaborative strength, creating an album solely focused on duets with massive names.
Justin Bieber, Chance the Rapper, Bruno Mars, Stormzy.
The list goes on. This was a clear demonstration of using other artists' star power to drive his own digital presence, wasn't it?
Absolutely. The single I Don't Care broke Spotify's single-day streaming record with 10.977 million streams. It proved that he didn't need to be the sole star in the spotlight to generate unprecedented digital traffic. It showed he could function as an industry hub.
Then came Equals, released in 2021. This felt like a shift back toward the personal, reflecting major life changes.
It was definitely a more introspective effort, focused on major personal events, marriage, having a child, and coping with the loss of friends. Visually, the album was grounded in this personal reflection.
Right. The cover was painted by Sheeran himself during the COVID-19 lockdown, once again reinforcing that DIY, authentic artistic background.
And his consistency led to a major historical marker in the UK charts during this period.
In 2021, he became the first British solo artist to accumulate 52 weeks, a full year, at #1 on the official singles chart across his entire catalog.
A full year.
That is incredible sustained dominance. In the history of the UK charts, only Elvis Presley and the Beatles have more weeks at the summit. That metric defines a truly historical level of longevity.
And as we move into his creative and future ventures, that longevity relies heavily on the willingness to jump genres. We saw the example in Eminem collaborations, but the source material shows his willingness to engage with much heavier music.
Yes, his genre flexibility is perhaps the most underrated element of his longevity. The fact that he collaborated with the pop metal group Bring Me the Horizon on a Bad Habits remix was genuinely surprising.
But not as surprising as the other one.
No. Even more shocking was the news that he was in contact with the extreme metal group Cradle of Filth, based in his home county of Suffolk, about a possible future project.
Wait, the man who wrote Thinking Out Loud is talking to an extreme metal band? How does that musical DNA even begin to merge?
That takes us perfectly into analyzing his musical style and his really unexpected influences. While he's classified as pop, folk pop, or soft rock, the rap element is deeply incorporated, but his core influences are surprisingly traditional.
Let's talk deep cuts. Where does the melody come from?
He cites the album that introduced him to music as Van Morrison's Irish Heartbeat. That deep grounding in traditional Irish music, folk, and storytelling is absolutely key. He also lists Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan, and Elton John's greatest hits as major early inspirations. This confirms the quality of composition was his focus from the very start.
But the personal origin story for the guitar, the instrument that defined his public image, involves rock royalty.
It relates directly to Eric Clapton. Clapton is cited as the reason he started playing guitar at age 11, after seeing Clapton perform Layla at the Queen's Golden Jubilee concert in June 2002.
He describes that moment vividly, seeing Clapton walk onto the stage with his iconic rainbow-colored Stratocaster and playing that opening riff.
And that prompted him to buy a black Stratocaster copy for £30 2 days later. He spent the next month trying to master that riff. That moment wasn't just an inspiration, it was a physical catalyst for his career.
And that admiration came full circle years later.
It really did. Sheeran later sang on Clapton's album, I Still Do. When Clapton contributed to Sheeran's music, specifically a guitar solo on the track Dive from the E album, they were both credited pseudonymously as Angelo Misterioso.
Why?
To avoid tipping off the press and keep the focus on the music. That level of respect and genuine collaboration is immense.
The contrasting tastes, combining this folk sensibility with urban rhythm and even heavy metal, are incredibly revealing.
And tying back to the urban side, the most insightful influence, which explains his fluency in rapping, is Eminem.
That's a huge connection, both musically and personally.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Sheeran stated publicly that he had a profound stutter when he was younger, which caused him a lot of difficulty in school and social situations. He credits rapping along to Eminem's complex, rhythmically intense lyrics on the Marshall Mathers LP for actually helping him stammer less as a child.
So that explains why the collaborations with the grime and rap artists feel so authentic and integral to his sound. It's not opportunistic. It's personal history and physical therapy wrapped into music.
Exactly. And we continue to see innovation. His latest moves show an openness to non-Western sounds. His 2025 single, Azizam, included clear Persian musical influences, and the track Sapphire was noted for having Punjabi undertones. He continues to expand the definition of what a global pop star can absorb and integrate.
Shifting now to the operational side, let's look at the business of the everyman, because his entrepreneurial side is just as meticulously managed as his music. How does he maintain control over this musical ecosystem?
In 2015, he launched Gingerbread Man Records, or GMR, in partnership with Warner Music Group. The purpose wasn't just to make money, it was to provide a bespoke, boutique home for new artists he personally believed in and wanted to shepherd.
So people like Jamie Lawson, Foy Vance.
And later, Maisie Peters. That sounds like a standard label deal, but the sources point to a crucial shift in his own catalog recently.
What was that?
His 2023 album, Autumn Variations, was a landmark release. It was his first studio album for which he actually owns the copyright, released directly through GMR. That signifies a colossal step toward owning his masters and taking complete operational control over his artistic output, which is the ultimate power move in the modern music industry.
He also keeps his business operations incredibly local, demonstrating that commitment to the places that shaped him.
Yes. He opened the Notting Hill bar, Birdie Blossoms, with his manager Stuart Camp, which is sweetly named after his wife, Cherry Seaborn. But this local commitment shines brightest in his philanthropy, particularly in Suffolk.
That local focus is a huge part of the authenticity he sells, isn't it? It has to be.
It is entirely consistent with the brand. He consistently donates clothes to local charity shops in Suffolk. He became an ambassador for East Anglia's Children's Hospice, using his platform to support vital local services.
And he turned high-profile moments into direct charitable action.
He did. For example, he sold specific items for charity, like the tartan shirt he wore in his cameo in the film Bridget Jones's Baby. That was auctioned to raise funds for the hospice. More systematically, he established the Ed Sheeran Suffolk Music Foundation, or ESSMF, specifically to help artists under the age of 18 with small, practical grants for equipment or tuition.
He even invested directly in his own past.
Absolutely. He donated a substantial £170,000 to his former high school, Thomas Mills High School. And this money wasn't just a general fund. It was earmarked to purchase specific equipment, like MacBooks, cameras, and to outfit a photography darkroom, ensuring the next generation had the resources he initially lacked.
And during the COVID-19 pandemic, he mobilized his local resources quickly.
He made a founding gift to launch the Suffolk Community Foundation's Rebuilding Local Lives appeal and donated over £1 million to local charities in Suffolk. Yeah. He also actively backed footballer Marcus Rashford's National Free School Meals campaign by opening his own breakfast club at his Birdie Blossoms bar for any struggling families in the area. This is a direct application of business success to urgent community needs, which strengthens that everyman image.
We have to also touch on the iconic commercial ventures that feel less like endorsements and more like extensions of his personality.
The Heinz collaboration is legendary. He is a genuine lifelong fan. He famously carries a bottle of ketchup on tour and has a Heinz ketchup tattoo.
He really has a tattoo of it.
He does. And he took that genuine love and wrote the commercial for Heinz, which gently pokes fun at people who judge him for asking for ketchup in fancy restaurants.
That authenticity resulted in the limited edition Heinz Ketchup. It's one of the best examples in modern marketing of an artist leveraging a genuine personal habit into a massive commercial product that resonates globally.
Moving beyond music and commerce, we see a surprisingly active and sometimes controversial acting career. He is clearly comfortable both playing himself and taking on diverse character roles.
He's done the standard celebrity cameo, appearing as himself in films like Bridget Jones's Baby, Yesterday, and the Netflix film Red Notice. But the character work is more interesting.
Much more. He was cast by Sons of Anarchy creator Kurt Sutter to play Sir Cormac in the medieval drama The Bastard Executioner. This was a genuine acting role, not a wink and a nod cameo. He also voiced the character Brendan in The Simpsons and played Crack Ed in the 2023 film Some Otherhood.
But the one that generated the most controversy, the one that really proved that even universal success can't save you from a devoted fan base, was Game of Thrones.
Oh, that was his role as a Lannister soldier in the episode Dragonstone. The context is key. The show creators did it specifically as a surprise for Maisie Williams, who was a massive fan of Sheeran.
But the fans?
The fans and critics alike widely criticize it for breaking the immersion of the show. It was one of the few instances where his appearance was viewed as a disruptive intrusion rather than a charming addition, proving that even a hyper-controlled brand like his can stumble when crossing over into different artistic universes.
And that leads us perfectly into the segment that defines the stakes of his entire career and the future of contemporary music, the legal landscape. He has faced multiple, highly consequential plagiarism lawsuits regarding fundamental musical elements.
The prevalence of this litigation surrounding his work highlights a critical tension in the digital age. When music is instantaneously sampled and influences are immediate, how do you define the boundaries of originality?
It's a critical discussion. Let's start with case study 1, Photograph, which involves similarities to Matt Cardle's song Amazing.
The outcome was an out-of-court settlement in 2017. But the real insight comes from Sheeran's subsequent reflection on that decision.
What did he say?
He stated he deeply regretted the settlement. He felt that by settling, he unintentionally validated the claim, and it opened a floodgate of claims against his work. He admitted that it changed his relationship with the song so much that he stopped playing Photograph live for a long period because he felt weird about it.
So that decision, purely pragmatic at the time, became a deep psychological barrier later.
Exactly. Which brings us to case study 2. Shape of You. The stakes were much higher this time.
This was the allegation by musicians Sammy Chokri and Ross O'Donoghue, who claimed infringement of a phrase from their song Oh Why. This time, Sheeran fought back hard, recognizing the need to set a firm legal precedent.
And the outcome was a definitive victory for Sheeran in 2022.
The judge ruled explicitly and clearly, Sheeran neither deliberately nor subconsciously copied a phrase from OY when writing Shape of You. This was a huge step in pushing back against that floodgate effect he regretted enabling with the photograph settlement.
But the true, industry-defining moment came with the third case, the battle over Thinking Out Loud. This was the most high-profile fight, with the accusation being that it copied elements from Marvin Gaye's 1973 classic, Let's Get It On.
This trial drew global media attention because the fundamental musical building blocks were under fire.
And Sheeran's core defense centered on a simple yet profound argument. The similar elements, specifically the shared chord progression, often identified as the common IVV structure in pop music, are merely common building blocks used across countless pop songs and are therefore unprotectable by copyright.
He even performed in court, didn't he? Demonstrating how common and fundamental the progression was.
He did. He showed how easily he could move between his song and the accused song, and many others, using the exact same chords.
And the outcome was a massive victory for songwriters globally.
A huge victory. The jury found unanimously in Sheeran's favor in 2023. This wasn't just a personal win. It defended the structural integrity of conventional pop songwriting.
And the finality of this victory came recently, in June 2025.
Yes. The U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear the appeal. That decision officially ended the dispute and upheld his victory, cementing the precedent that these foundational chord progressions are the shared language of music, not the proprietary intellectual property of any single artist.
The statement he made post-verdict is essential for understanding the broader music industry context and the implications of this case.
He stated, "These chords are common building blocks which were used to create music long before Let's Get It On was written and will be used to create music long after we are all gone." That quote is now a powerful defense for any songwriter facing similar claims. He successfully defended the right to use the chords that make up nearly all modern music, establishing a crucial legal firewall.
Moving on from the legal battles, let's wrap up with the legacy and future blueprint, how the industry perceives him and how he's actively shaping his final chapters.
Well, music journalists agree that his impact was revolutionary for contemporary pop music, particularly in the UK. He's credited with bringing pop back down to earth, popularizing an austere version of Coldplay's dressed-down authenticity.
And that authenticity led to a commercial tsunami. His success spawned an entire category of imitators, the so-called Sheeran-alikes, leading to a wave of earnest, dressed-down, boy-next-door troubadours, filling the charts for years. He became the mold.
He really did. His appeal, particularly to the millennial generation, is rooted in what GQ magazine described as authenticity, realness, earnestness, sincerity. He managed to translate lyrical candor and personal vulnerability directly to listeners who were fatigued by the highly stylized, often inaccessible pop stars of previous generations. The BBC even named him the second best performing artist of the decade, only behind Adele.
And beyond the charts, he has received formal honors recognizing his service not just to music, but also to charity.
In 2017, he was appointed MBE, Member of the Order of the British Empire, receiving the award from Prince Charles for his services to music and charity. On a lighter, perhaps stranger note, he was also named a Baron of Sealand back in 2012.
And an Emmy winner, too.
He won the Primetime Creative Arts Emmy in 2023 for Outstanding Original Music and Lyrics for the song A Beautiful Game from the show Ted Lasso.
And linking his local passion, Framlingham and Suffolk, to his immense financial clout, we have his deep involvement with his local football club, Ipswich Town.
This is a brilliant, visible example of his local commitment meeting his global brand. He sponsored the club's kit with his Plus E Tour logo for multiple seasons, spanning from 2021-22 until 2024-25, ensuring his local team benefited directly from his global touring success.
He was even in the squad list, right?
He was, given the number 17 purely as an honorary gesture. But most recently, in August 2024, he solidified his commitment by acquiring a minority stake 1.4% in the Premier League club. He's not just a fan, he's an investor in his roots.
Finally, we come to the ultimate piece of planning. The ultimate exercise in control, the career closure, mapped out long in advance. The mathematical album cycle, which currently includes Play in 2025, is merely a midpoint.
This is the most fascinating revelation about his mindset. He has confirmed an entire future album series following Play, signaling a clear plan for the remainder of his active recording career.
And the titles are already known.
They are Pause, Fast Forward, Rewind, and Stop.
That indicates a clearly mapped-out career closure sequence, giving him unprecedented control over his later professional narrative, right down to the naming convention that suggests reflection and finality. But the most provocative final insight shared with the release of Play in 2025 relates to what happens after Stop.
It's his plan for a posthumous studio album, titled Eject.
An album designed for release after his death.
Yes. It contains songs he recorded throughout his life, starting from age 18. The crucial defining detail is that this project is cherry-picked and curated by his wife, Cherry Seaborn, and fully set for release upon his death. It is the ultimate exercise in controlling one's legacy, ensuring that the last piece of art presented to the world is exactly as he intended it to be perceived, long after he is gone.
This deep dive really emphasizes three major high-level insights for you, the listener, about modern stardom. First, his success is built not just on talent, but on clear, almost mathematical career planning, combining that systematic structure with organic talent that emerged from an intensely artistic and supportive home.
Second, his ability to genre hop seamlessly, from traditional folk and pop to incorporating rap, grime, and now hints of metal and non-Western influences like Persian and Punjabi sounds, is absolutely key to his longevity and ability to appeal across global demographics without ever being contained by one label.
And third, his legal victories in the high-profile copyright cases, particularly the Thinking Out Loud defense, established an important, powerful precedent regarding the legitimate use of common musical building blocks in contemporary pop music. He didn't just save his song, he defended the structural freedom of all modern songwriters.
Which brings us back to that ultimate question of control and legacy, and it's the thought we want to leave you with. Considering the meticulous, deliberate planning for the entire sequence, pause, fast forward, rewind, and stop culminating in the posthumous Eject album, curated and controlled by his family. What does it truly mean for an artist to map out their relationship with their public image, their fans, and their entire narrative decades in advance? It is an unprecedented level of control over the final word of an iconic career.
A truly calculated yet undeniably authentic icon. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.